Conducting is hard. It doesn't get easier. The more you know, the harder it gets, the more you realize you don't know. But what I would say is, listen to everything. Listen to all kinds of music. Read everything. Go and see any art gallery you can. Go and walk in nature. What I'm saying is actually the whole of life goes into music. Music is about all that stuff that goes out there. The more that you put into yourself, and not just music, and not just the details, but everything else, the more you will be able to give back to the music. Oh, there's a lot of them. But the great Italian conductor Carlo Maria Giulini said to me, "Simon, promise me just one thing, that you'll hurry slowly." Yeah, sometimes death or dental work seems like the better option. You just simply have to go through it. I remember, I've loved the pianist Christian Zimmermann since I first knew him all those years ago, and I used to go to his early concerts in London, and I knew that he vomited between each piece. And sometimes he wouldn't go off stage because he knew he would throw up between them. He was still somehow able to perform. This doesn't happen to him anymore. So sometimes these things pass. Some people get more scared as they get older. Some people find it easier. There is no way around it. What you have to do is to be so secure in what you're doing that you know you can still give whatever message you need to give despite it. I remember Bernard Haitink, when at the time I was very worried, and they say, "Simon, how good do you want it to be? Just be as good as you are and accept that that's what it is. It will not be better than that. Be yourself." The problem is all the answers you give in something like this are strangely philosophical, and you need to think about a lot. But nerves is something that everybody has to deal with, without exception. I mean, for me, I'm often more nervous before the rehearsals than the concerts, because that's where a lot of the business actually happens. When I play the piano, now suddenly I remember, oh my God, yes, my fingers aren't necessarily going to do what I say to them, as they do when I'm a conductor. So in every different way of performing, you have to find what you do. But in a way, the simplest answer is, yes, you're nervous, but yes, the music's more important at the end of it. Don't try and memorize. It would be my advice. And when it's there, it's there. When you realize that you've forgotten to turn over so many pages that you don't know where the next page is, then it's time to think about filling in the gaps. But don't try to do it for the sake of doing it. You just have to have enough time with the music until it comes to you. There's another thing that Giulini said to me also about finding which pieces to conduct. He said, you don't always have to go out looking for pieces. Often they'll come and knock on your door themselves. Music's always been a healer, and it should be. Music often makes you understand the other person's point of view, or at the very least to think, oh, somebody else went through this. But this is an extraordinarily divided time, and it's not only in our country, it's all over the globe. And music will have to do the best it can to try to bring that together. I think seeing short live performance really helps. Seeing other children do things. Playing yourself, of course, is absolutely ideal. But also just simply having it there, playing it, it being there, and people being used to it and catching on. If kids aren't told, oh, sit down, shut up, listen, I think it's often much better if it's there in the background, or if it's there, just try a few minutes of things. It doesn't always have to be the simplest or the most obvious thing. If you can imagine, the complexity and the modernity of the music that goes on behind the Tom and Jerry cartoons, written by a Schoenberg pupil, but any kid can understand it and see what's going on. So I think just give your kids the chance to hear classical music, among other things. Sometimes there's a real emphasis on, oh, you must understand this. And I think this can put people off very, very fast. I would just encourage people to think that they're in a most extraordinary jungle and just kind of look around and see what you see. Listen to what's going in the ears. Don't try to intellectualize. The self-importance of our world. When I look at jazz musicians, it's a much tougher life, but sometimes I see a much healthier way of being, and the feeling that it is what it is. Yes, the music's important, but it shouldn't know that it is. I think there is a bigger and bigger audience for classical music all the time. And I think our job is to keep on spreading that word, to be evangelists. I think there is more and more extraordinary music being written all the time. The great masterpieces are not all in the past. In this country in particular, there's a generation of composers from the 20s to their 60s who are some of the most exciting creators in the world. And I think simply music makes everybody's lives better. The more we can celebrate that, the better that is. That's one of the most positive things I can think of.